Hi, folks. Mark Merrill. This is Firm Politics, the final chapter, but we're going to blend in some other politics. In this episode, we call GOP Good Guys and Left-Wing Cheaters. Our final segment on the Maine GOP gubernatorial candidates for 2026 you now see before you folks are today, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to hear from the last two running for the Blaine House among the 8 that are running, plus some additional side notes from Democrat Governor Janet Mills. We have to report it, folks, on her losing ground to controversial radical Graham Plattner, you've probably already heard about, in a recent UNH New Hampshire primary poll. Plus, Ms. Mills pulls dollars from a state contingency fund, against your will and mine, and another source, to offset $1.2 million for food pantries and anti-hunger programs affected by the federal shutdown, induced by Democrats, of course, folks. Us who live in the real world, not the world of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries down there in D.C., swampland. Anyway, first on our agenda, folks, is David Mills. Let's try that again. I'm sure he wouldn't appreciate that. We hear from candidate number 7, David Jones, an entrepreneur real estate man, and his opening statement at the October 18th GOP Forum in Augusta.
As I'm starting, I'm going to tell you what I am not. I am not a lawyer. I am not a lobbyist. I am not a DC swamp rat. I've been working my entire life to make sure that people here in the state of Maine get the representation that they're supposed to. I'm a businessman. First off, I'm a family man. My wife Nancy's here with some of my children tonight. I've been married to Nancy for 40 years. I have 6 children. I have 8 grandchildren. One was born just the other day. Renee Louise, Eloise Renee Jones, right? It's new, right? It's new. I get it. But I'm the guy that signs the front of the paycheck. I'm the guy that you read about that started from scratch. Didn't have any money. My parents were so broke they couldn't pay attention. I was in the construction business. I built my construction business up, and I built a great life. And I've been living this life, and here in the state of Maine, I've invested 28 years of my life to make this a better place. I've been doing conservative efforts here in the state of Maine for over 20 years. I've been on a radio show with my buddy Ray Richardson. Not everybody hears it. But we're about getting people out to vote. I'm running for governor because I know I'm that guy. I've been told I'm that guy. This was not a lifelong ambition for me to be the governor of the state of Maine. It's a calling. I felt that I had to do it because I have the skills. And you need somebody with skills. The next person that goes up to Augusta has to have the fortitude, the passion, and he has to be a warrior. I want to be your warrior. I want to be your governor. And I can guarantee you, you will not find anybody that'll work as hard and as smart as David Jones. Thank you very much.
You all are doing a fantastic job, Sting.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will hear right off the bat, right next up in line, the final of the total of number 8 candidates, Owen McCarthy. Now, first of all, David Jones here is from Falmouth, a self-made entrepreneur in the real estate business. And Owen McCarthy from Patten will complete our series on Maine GOP governor candidates coming up in 2026. Here's his opening statement from October 18th at the GOP Forum in Augusta.
Right on time here. Owen McCarthy.
Something like extra minutes, right? No. My name is Owen McCarthy. I'm a proud native of Patten, Maine, the son of a 3rd-generation logger and a 2nd-generation lunch lady. I grew up in a trailer on my grandfather's land, and growing up, I had a great path. At the time, the schools were the fourth in the country. We had great community values of hard work and integrity. I went on to college to be the first in my family to graduate from the University of Maine on the pulp and paper program in engineering. I worked in the paper industry, and then I became an entrepreneur. I started a medical device company to help people improve their walking if they have a stroke or live with Parkinson's disease. Brought $60 million of venture capital into this state, created good paying jobs, and did it all from here. I'm also a husband and a father of Oliver and Theodore, who are 5 and 2. And as I look across Maine today, I don't think the next generation has the same opportunity that I have. I don't think it's affordable to live here if you're a working class Mainer anymore, and that's why I'm running for governor. And as I look across Maine today, I blame the 7 years of one-party rule in Augusta for the reason why if you work hard and play by the rules, that's no longer enough. The cost of living is out of control. Taxes are some of the highest in our nation. Our test scores are low. Drugs are hitting our communities, and young people are fleeing. And this is unacceptable to me. But it doesn't have to be that way. We need a change of direction and a fresh way of thinking. We're also in the fourth industrial revolution led by AI and the reindustrialization of America thanks to President Trump. And we can take advantage of that, but we can't take advantage of that if we elect another Democrat to this governor's seat in 2026. So we must win. The time is now to turn the page because we need something very different because working class families like the ones I grew up with are hanging on by a thread and there's no room to breathe. We need to make sure the next generation of Mainers have an opportunity, and I don't want to lose them because they're the heart and soul of the state. And that's why, as a friend of mine, Mike coined, in June of next year, I hope that you all will be saying, I'm going with Owen.
And there you have it, folks. Those are all 8 of the Maine GOP gubernatorial candidates that will be running in 2026. We thank you to all of them. And now we're going to be switching gears right off, folks, here on Firm Politics. GOP good guys and left-wing cheaters. I think you can guess who the left-wing cheaters are. As we change over to another topic, folks, with unfortunately we have to hear from Janet Mills. But there's some bad news for her as well as good. So we'll see how that turns out as far as you, the general public, are concerned. And we'd like to tell you right now, folks, please go ahead anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right here. We want you to contact us at fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, and check out our podcasts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week as well, the ones that are posted, including this one, within the next few hours on YouTube and Twitter or x.com. Thank you for your contributions. We appreciate your comments, your views, and some ideas that you might have for topics. Continuing on, folks, we're going to go to a poll that was recently held. And it doesn't look too good for Janet Mills, or at least it hasn't over the last week or so. We're going to show it to you and go into some more details that came from the Maine Wire. Just what we need. Janet Mills sinking in the polls for a change. About time. So as we bring it up here, folks, it's kind of hard to see, but we will certainly guide you through it here as we also bring up the information on our screen here as we bring you this program here on Firm Politics, GOP good guys, and left-wing cheaters. So, what you see before you here, folks, is a poll. And we've highlighted it a little bit in pink there. I know that's kind of a different color, but it's a surprise, according to the Maine Wire, that we can read at the very top there, above the 2 lines that indicate the top line is Graham Plattner, and the blue, the brown line is Janet Mills as far as the poll goes. It's a UNH poll, the University of New Hampshire, released on October 23rd, with Mr. Plattner pretty much smoking Janet Mills and that in the primary when it comes up to that decision next year. So it was 24% for Janet Mills, but Graham Plattner, as of the October 23rd polling, was at 58%. And everybody down below here, folks, we'll mention them, but not that it really matters that much. You may not even know some of the candidates here who are running for the U.S. Senate Democratic primary to try and unseat Susan Collins, but the other Democrat candidates are David Costello with 1%, Jordan Wood with 1%, Andrea LaFlamme, David Evans, and Tucker Favreau with no percent at all. Write-ins are 1%. But here's another one, folks, that could sway this even more in Mr. Plattner's favor. The one at the bottom here, in gray, shows don't know or undecided is 14%. Wow. That could sway some things, but I doubt that it's going to be in Janet Mills' favor, folks. You certainly can. I'll vouch for that as far as you hearing from me on that. And down below, we have some more commentary from this particular input to Janet Mills' approval rating, as well as the race that she's vying to win Susan Collins' seat against Graham Plattner. But just down below, folks, on our screen here, Janet Mills' approval rating has plummeted in recent months. And some other Maine residents chime in, saying that's why Janet and benefactors have been lowering the boom of opposing research. The tattoos and tweets will bring Mr. Plattner down sharply, says one man. Another says seasoned campaign managers don't resign when there's confidence that the candidate they represent can win. Just a guess. Most of Plattner's iceberg may still be below the Gulf of Maine waterline. Another man chimes in, if this is the same poll I received from UNH, it was sent out in October and the 17th, before a lot of Plattner's extracurricular activities made it through the news cycle. You're familiar, I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, as far as the tattoo on his chest and references to Nazism. He says, this poll, though, according to the poster, is a gift for him right now. I have to think his numbers are much lower than the 58% presented. Another one says, imagine how he will demolish Susan Collins. Hard to say on that, folks. She's been in the U.S. Senate a long time. I'm hoping for Bobby Charles or Jones to make the primaries. I like the forum. It was amazing. Another lady chimes in, has anyone else noticed that Facebook and social media is followed with Democrats running for governor, but not much media coverage for Republican candidates, unlike us here at the organization Firm, the Maine Wire, Maine Policy Institute, and lots of other non-biased media. Kind of a poll between heart disease and cancer, says one. One other person says, I sure hope it happens. The general would be hilarious. I am stocking up on popcorn, this lady says. She says this is going to be pure entertainment. Not crying for Mills, but Jesus? Indeed. Wait until GOP does opposition research on Plattner. Just what Maine needs, a socialist, Bernie-backed harbor master, DEI NGO supporting Marine veteran Oyster Guy. More than a year to go, folks. Great news. I'm sure Janet is smoking, too. Yeah, we just don't want to reveal what she is smoking or has been these last 7.5 years. Glad I'm voting red, says one other lady. And we'll leave it at that, folks. Now we're going to get back a little bit more on track with something else, folks. And it has to do with Janet Mills taking some action, where a lot of the people are finding that life's getting tougher. The longer the shutdown goes on in Washington, D.C., a lot of Mainers also know that the deadline is November 1st as to when the cancellation or the stopping of funding for SNAP and food stamp, other food stamp programs and food pantry funding. So this is what Mrs. Mills decided to do. Here she is. We're not presenting her video-wise. Lucky us, and lucky you, ladies and gentlemen. She's once again thumbing her nose and God knows what else, and takes millions or a few $1 million from taxpayers' contingency fund. Oh, not by any, of course, have unbiased and bipartisan contributions and conversations about it. And also possible private donors' pockets, the John T. Gorman Foundation, which we have not had a chance to look up, but that is what she's robbing from the Maine contingency and private donors to help fund food pantries and anti-hunger programs. We won't read all of it, folks. It's a lengthy 2.5-page announcement that she made on October 30th. Mills announced that she was taking to deliver $1.25 million to Good Food Shepherd Bank and Good Shepherd Food Bank and other anti-hunger programs as the federal shutdown poised to cease food benefits for 170,000 Maine families, older adults. Partnership with Maine Philanthropy. Yeah, they sure know how to word it, don't they? The $1.25 million is $1 million from the governor's contingency account, she says, plus $250,000 from the John T. Gorman Foundation using existing state relationships with Good Shepherd and the state's network of area agencies on aging. Plus, the funds will be distributed to support the state network of food pantries and other anti-hunger programs with organizations across the state. Quote, when the federal government fails, Maine will not. When challenges arise, Maine people step up. In partnership with the Gorman Foundation, we're taking action to deliver the $1.25 million to food pantries, Meals on Wheels, and other programs that help support food needs of Maine families, children, seniors, and people with disabilities. One of the things I love, she says, about Maine, steady, we'll get through this. One of the things she says she loves about Maine is that we take care of each other, which is more important now than ever. Is she taking care of your needs, folks? Why wasn't this done months ago? Money's always been there. I can only imagine, as far as some type of an accounting expert myself, you got to have money in an investment account that's going to yield lots of funds to cover your rear end, especially if you're running a small business, those of you out there. Treasury bonds, in the case of the state. Didn't even cross her mind, folks. Never crossed her mind. Or her cronies in the Appropriations Committee. Leave the Republicans out of it. Or since the majority was there for her all these last several months, didn't even consider something like this could happen. Instead, she says everybody in the whole country including Maine, facing significant hardship because of the needless federal shutdown. Cry me a river, Mills. Could probably sell out her own father, if they were still alive. Neighbors help each other when there's a storm on the horizon, she says. Of the 170,000 Mainers, nearly 55,000 of those children stand to lose food assistance they depend on, according to John T. Gorman Foundation President and CEO Nicole Witherby. She says it's critical, no kidding, that we do everything we can to lessen the blow for these families and support the frontline organizations who will be working to meet an unprecedented level of demand until these benefits are restored. There's $650,000 in the governor's contingency funds. And from the John T. Gorman Foundation, several hundred thousand other monies. But the governor's contingency funding for AgeWise Maine, the state association for Maine's area agencies on aging, to increase the availability of meals in community dining locations, grab-and-go meals, and extra meals through Meals on Wheels to seniors and people with disabilities is what she's doing. Now that there's been a shutdown for 3 weeks, going on a month, on October 10th, here's one to note, folks, of this announcement of Ms. Mills. The U.S. Department of Agriculture informed states that benefits through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, would not be distributed in November due to the federal shutdown. Gee, you even had that amount of time, Mills. October 10th. As we speak right now on this firm program about GOP good guys and left-wing nut creepy cheaters, even the last 3 weeks, you had the time to do it. So people wouldn't have to worry within days, let alone hours, of losing their benefits. .5% of the state's population rely on SNAP, with several counties, Androscoggin, Aroostook, Washington, Piscataquis, and Somerset, approaching or surpassing 20% of their populations. 75% of Maine's SNAP households include at least one working adult. More than half include a person with a disability. 43% include an older adult, or over 1/3 include children. And of course, Mr. Legal Expert from Ms. Mills, Attorney General Fry, announced Maine had joined a multi-state lawsuit to compel the USDA to release contingency funds, which have been authorized by Congress to pay for SNAP benefits in November. You can thank Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries for that. Ain't going to happen. Or I should say didn't. There's got just one more thing to throw at Janet Mills and the Democrats, whether it's here in Maine that we have to deal with in a so-called purple state, not a completely blue state, but also throw another organization under the bus when it comes to voting on November 4th. Here's one for you folks, right here. This was received in the mail, and I think by many, many, many Americans, if not citizens of Maine. See who's in control here, or not in control? Why go to the polls when you can just Amazon Prime it? Obviously a doctored box, an Amazon box. Instead of Amazon, it says crime, with the smile face turned into a frown. Your vote is your vote, and it's also your voice. But Maine laws leave the door wide open to abuse. When hundreds of ballots show up in an Amazon package, it's clear Maine's system needs to be reformed. Vote yes. It says down here, folks, right there. Vote yes on question 1 and secure Maine's elections. Thank you for joining us for this episode, folks, of Maine's politics, GOP, good guys, and leftist radical cheaters. As always, check out our links to firm at fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Also, our podcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube and Twitter or x.com, right there. We're constantly on the watch, folks, defender of the First Amendment. And we talk about truth, facts, reality, and common sense. Everyone stay safe. Pray for the best turnout as possible on our November 4th Election Day. Yes on question 1, no on question 2. Peace to all.